Hey guys, welcome back to Rooted Homeschool. I'm so excited that you're here with us today. This video today is a collaboration with two of my homeschool mom friends here on YouTube and over on Instagram, GinaBHomeschool and Brooke over at Shangrila Schoolhouse. So when you're done watching this video, head to the links to their videos in the description box and check them out. Make sure also that you subscribe to their channels as well as mine so that you can follow along with us in future videos. So today our collaboration is do a lesson with us. So we're all doing different lessons with our children so that you could see different lessons in action in different homes with different age students. So if you are not homeschooling and you want some insight into what it's like, or if you are homeschooling and you just like to see how other moms are doing it with kids with different ages and different curriculums, today will give you a good idea how different homeschooling can look for each family. Today we're sharing with you a curriculum that we've really been loving, and that is Foundations in Personal Finance. So this was one of the curriculums that was voted on over my Instagram stories a few weeks ago that you guys wanted to see in action. So we're sort of reviewing it for you today, and then you can join us in our lesson. We are pretty close to being done. I think we have 5 lessons left. There are 6 chapters in Foundations in Personal Finance with about 3 to 5 lessons in each chapter. So we're pretty close to the end and we've been loving it. When I came across this curriculum, I thought I definitely have to check this out. I think it's really important for us to talk to our kids about money. It's one of those things that can sometimes get lost in translation, lost in the busyness, lost in prioritizing, and we want our kids to be not just successful, like we want them to make a lot of money, but we want them to be successful in terms of how they're managing their money, being responsible, not going into debt, knowing how to save, knowing how to invest, and all of those good things. So I really like Foundations in Personal Finance because it is a curriculum that was created by Dave Ramsey, and he does the Financial Peace University, if you're familiar with that. If you haven't looked into it, I highly recommend that for adults. I did it years ago and I'll probably do it again. And it just so happens that he was a guest speaker at our church about 3 weeks ago. And then his daughter, Rachel Cruz, who's also featured in the videos in this curriculum, also preached the week after. So another thing that I really like about this curriculum is that it includes godly principles about how to manage your money. One thing that really surprised me was how many verses in the Bible are about money, about how to manage your money. So there are over 2,000 verses in the Bible about money. So I have not looked them all up. I'm going to take Dave Ramsey's word for it. Another thing that I want to mention about this curriculum is that this is the middle school edition. So there is a high school edition and there is a middle school edition. And there is also a Financial Peace Junior, which is for ages 3 through 12. They have a bunch of different resources within that, which I plan on purchasing for our next year, our next homeschool year for my younger children. I included Jackson with, he's 9. I included him with my older son who's 13 so that they could do this together because I figured Jackson could handle it. And I like when they can do things together when everything isn't independent. And he's done a really great job with it. Some of the math problems may be like a little bit above his level, so we either just have him work through it with his brother or I help him with it. I will try the Financial Peace Junior. There are a lot of resources on the website next year for the homeschooling year for my younger kids. I'm really interested to check that out as well. So there are lots of resources. There are lots of resources on DaveRamsey.com, not just the curriculum that you'll see us do today. Another thing I just want to mention when you're thinking about pros and cons and things like that is that we don't have a DVD player at all. Like, we only use streaming services, and our laptops do not have a DVD drive in them. So I did just have to purchase this $20 external DVD drive for this curriculum, because that would be like my one complaint if I had to complain, is that it does use DVDs for the video teachings. So I kind of wish that they were just available, you know, digitally online where you could access them, but they're not. However, the middle school curriculum does offer an option for all online, which does not include the book, and it's more of the like an independent study. I did not want this as an independent study. I wanted it to be something that we could discuss and talk about and do together. That's why I chose to go this route. If you've been following me for any length of time, I really like stuff that's really discussion based. I don't like everything to be independent. I really like that family style feel, and then everybody obviously has some independent things that they'll do. So that's why I chose to go with this one. I figured it's no big deal. We just plug this into our laptop to watch the video teaching. So we are on chapter 5, and there are 6 chapters in the curriculum. So this is how it's set up. So you'll have the topic for the chapter, you'll have some statistics and some quotes and some scripture. Then we'll have I can statements for each lesson. So it tells them like what they should know by the end of that lesson, which I do find helpful. And then key terms for the lesson. So there's some financial literacy vocabulary, which I think is really great. Then this is where they have fill in the blanks that go along with the video. Once the video's over, there's always a journal question that they'll end with. And then there's like a little bit for them to read on their own, not much. And then there will be at least 1 page of just some kind of independent work, which typically I ask them to do together if they can. And then sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. So it really doesn't take very long. I think max it takes us like 30 minutes to do everything for a lesson from start to finish. The videos are pretty short and they really enjoy them. I really enjoy them. I've actually learned stuff watching the videos. So for Gia, during this time, I'll usually do like either some money related activities with her. Like she has some fake dollars and she'll do like counting and addition, and she'll also just kind of review some of like her change, like what coin is which and how much it's worth. She also has this little counting jar. It's actually really cool. Like she can put the coins in and it tells her how much the coin was worth, and then obviously counts how much is in there total. So she's got some activities that she can do with money. There are also some little puzzles that she can put together. She has bird's nest math that she likes. She has like a leaf math that she really likes. So I try to do things math related with her. And then she also sometimes likes to write her problems on this whiteboard, but it isn't always math related. Sometimes I'll just have her do like her regular work during this time. The last thing that I'll just mention really quick, like if you've been following us over on Instagram or have watched some of our other YouTube videos, is we really like to make our homeschooling laid back. So like we have a very eclectic laid back style. Like we've made ourselves some tea, we're just kind of hanging out. Sometimes we'll do stuff on the couch, sometimes we'll be on the floor in the playroom, sometimes we'll be outside on the back deck or somewhere else entirely. So today we're just hanging out, having some tea at the table, and we're getting ready to start our lesson in chapter 5 of Foundations in Personal Finance. So I can statements for chapter 5, lesson 2.
I can explain the chain of production process. I can define gross domestic product, or GDP, and I can describe the difference between developed countries and developing countries.
All right, sounds good. So guys, open up to lesson 2 and we'll get started.
happens on some level in all countries.
So as the video plays, they just will have some blanks to fill in. It's actually not a lot of writing, just kind of the key concepts. They'll have some fill in the blank to do. And I'll just work quietly with Gia on reviewing, understanding her coins and amounts. And we'll do a little bit of like matching and puzzles with those coins, and then also some money math. So she likes to count out the dollars and use them to add and subtract. And the boys will just focus on their lesson.
Nothing to something. There are 4 main parts that help us understand this process. We call these economic sectors. There are 4 of them, and they have really weird names that basically identify them as the first sector.
So these little puzzles that Gia is doing are a free printable, and she really loves these. So I'll link these down in the description box. So if you have a younger child who's working on learning coins and amounts, you can check these out.
To make a cell phone. Let's start from the beginning and work our way through the chain of production using those 4 sectors. Cell phones are made up of raw materials collected from all over the planet.
Hold on 1 second. What was your
I said,
question?
so that's Dave Ramsey's daughter?
Yeah.
Oh, for some reason I thought that. I thought they were obviously random people.
Yeah, I didn't realize that either because they have a different last name. But then I was like, oh, she's married.
Yeah. Did you see her name?
Oh my gosh. But cause remember she told like the story of like when I was young, my dad, like they went through financial problems. They had to go bankrupt, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, and then she was like, and then now I tour with my father all around the world teaching people about money. And I was like, wait a second, was that Dave Ramsey's daughter?
I
You
always
looked
knew
it up?
that. I always knew that.
Haven't you looked it up?
I don't remember if I looked it up or not.
You just,
but,
well, what if you're wrong?
I mean,
Dun, dun, dun.
No, and she said it. It's a bird in the tree.
She said that she's Dave Ramsey's daughter.
I don't know.
When?
She said one time when she was.
do you want to go check it out and come back?
Dave
Okay.
Ramsey's my father. Who's Dave Ramsey?
Oh, yeah.
So she did?
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Oh.
All right. Are we good to continue?
Somehow I forgot about that.
Dave Ramsey.
Can you come back, Deej?
Last
Most of the minerals needed for the production of the circuits and speakers in your phone come from China and Mongolia. The raw materials for the glass on your phone, and we're talking about everything from the sand, soda ash, and lime.
So I let Gia get up somewhat often, especially in a case like you just saw where she saw a bird in the tree and she wanted to go check it out. Like I love her to be able to enjoy that freedom that homeschooling gives her, especially because we studied birds. So it really is like her continuing her love and learning of, you know, one of our very first homeschool units. So I'll let her get up even if she says, hey mom, can I go on my trapeze really quick or something like that. And then I'll usually just give her a couple minutes and she comes back fresh and ready to keep learning. So it's really been a huge help with keeping her focused and keeping her positive about what we're doing.
Going out. The primary economic indicator is the GDP. GDPs generally have an agriculturally based economy, a large population, and a high level of unemployment. As a country develops to produce more goods for export to other countries, and that brings up their own GDP. This is why they are called developing countries, because they're developing.
So really, Gia and I could go in the other room and work on something, and every once in a while we do, but it really doesn't seem to distract the boys. We just stay nice and quiet, and it allows me to also listen in to the video as it plays so that when we stop to discuss or when we discuss afterwards, I can be a part of the discussion with the boys.
Such as India, South Africa, Mexico, and the Philippines, does not have the same level of economic growth, business and industry, or security the leading GDP countries on a car. Can you imagine parking your car in a store parking lot under the light and sleeping there every night? That was me. As I said earlier, poverty is a big issue in the world, but it is also a big issue in our country too. But unlike some parts of the world, there's a lot that people living in poverty can do right here in this country. Dave Ramsey often says, I've been broke, but I've never been poor. Why? Because broke is temporary, but poor is a state of mind. These financial principles you are learning in this material can change your behavior. They can help you start thinking differently, and they can keep you from spending money.
No, something like what happened in the Hunger Games gonna happen. How like there's a capital and there's like the main thing and then there's other parts which is like the capital kind of like controlled in a way.
So say one more time what you're saying.
Do you think that could ever like happen? Like
What?
with the different countries? Like say like the United States or something like that. Like basically ends up like in like some of the higher countries are controlling like the lower countries and stuff.
I mean, shifts in power do take place, like if you look at history, right? So, I mean, nothing would surprise me. What do you think, Jack?
I mean, I think it could happen.
Rich people and some people living in poverty. That means you can't judge a whole country by how well off some of the population is.
So one thing I've gotten a little bit better at, as opposed to like wanting to hurry up and get through the lesson with no interruptions, is letting them interrupt. So if they have a thought or a question, being able to just stop and talk about it. And I feel like it really helps them get involved with the material. I wasn't recording. Hold on. So what's the journal question, Buck?
What kinds of things would be considered natural resources?
Interesting. So you guys go ahead and work on your journal question and then we can talk about it.
Okay.
Paige, do you want to grab out your binder, Lovey? So while the boys finish up with their lesson pages, Gia's going to shift into some of her binder work from her Burrows and Holes unit and just work on that for a little while. So what do you have next to do? Did you guys both finish your journal question?
Yeah, we have to do getting some markers.
We have to get this stuff.
So after your journal question, you have to apply what you've learned. And this is all about primary, secondary, and tertiary resources. And then you have a scripture on the bottom from Exodus. And then there's a ton of stats that we can talk about. And then that's it for lesson 2. All right, Cheech, so what do we have to work on? We have some math.
And we have a book to do.
And, ooh, that's fun.
Can
So
I
maybe,
draw
do you want me to grab your whiteboard in case you need to help figuring out any of these problems?
Yeah, can I draw this book?
Alright,
Sure, go ahead and start coloring it. Looks like that's your N book.
And
Yep, from
So,
your
like,
N word
what
family.
would you need to what
you
natural
would
resources?
need tin. You would need,
Metal.
you would need pineapples.
Mm-hmm.
You would need
That's stuff
tin.
like sugar and water stuff. That's not so important.
You
So
need tin.
there, you already answered the first one. You just get that stuff.
So is it asking you to figure out, like, for a can of pineapple, like what are the primary resources?
How to make it and all that.
Yeah. So do you have to like put them in separate sections? Like for a can of pineapple, this is what the natural resources are. This is what the secondary resources are.
Yeah,
That's really an interesting thing to think about that, like, you know, we don't necessarily think about every day.
Yeah.
I made justice.
So even though I have them work on their pages for their lesson sort of independently and then as partners, I will check in with them and just ask them questions about what they're working on so that they can get an opportunity to talk through it, maybe a little bit more so than they're doing together. Sometimes they'll talk more with each other as they're working on it, and sometimes they'll sort of just get in the zone and work through it independently. And then I've also noticed that sometimes when they start telling me about it, they may realize that they forgot something or left something out or weren't quite understanding something like they thought they were, or they find like, wow, okay, I really am making sense of this now that I hear it out loud. So I'll jump in and out of helping Gia with what she's working on and then talking with them about what they're doing. So right now she's just coloring her book for her N word family. So she doesn't really need me for this part, but eventually she'll have questions and that's how I'll jump back and forth. So there's like a lot that goes into it that we don't necessarily think about. And we get like even a can of beans, right, that we cook with. Mm-hmm. Like you don't think all that goes into it.
Even one of these, there's like the metal, there's the wood, there's the graphite, there's whatever's in the eraser, there's the paint that goes onto it.
Yeah. There's the stamping of the words on it.
Yeah, even just like...
So remember you put your name here, Geech.
Even just the crayon without the paper around it, I wonder like what the heck.
So thank you guys for joining us today. Hopefully this gave you an idea of the Foundations in Personal Finance unit. Gave you an idea if this is something that you would like to try in your homeschool. While they're finishing up their lesson pages in their booklets, I just wanted to mention that they do have a sample available at daveramsey.com if you want to try out a lesson. Lesson 1, the video and the lesson that you can print out are available as a free sample. If this is something that you think you might want to incorporate next year in your homeschool, or even just with your kids, even if your kids are not homeschooled, this is a really great curriculum to teach them money. This doesn't take longer than 30 minutes for a whole lesson from start to finish. You don't have to do this every day. We actually don't do it every day. We do it 1 to 3 times a week. It's not a main curriculum. It's more like an extra or an elective for us. So it's something that they really enjoy. I love that they're learning about how to manage money and, learning financial literacy. And so I strongly recommend this curriculum if you're trying to pick things for next year. I would definitely give this a try. I would also try Financial Peace Junior if you have children between the ages of 3 and 12. I chose to do the middle school curriculum to gear it more towards my 8th grader, but then allow my 4th grader to do it with him and get a little bit of a challenge because I thought he could handle it. But like I said, next year I'll definitely be trying Financial Peace University Junior for my 5-year-old who will be 6 by then, and I might check it out and see if there are things in there that my 9-year-old who will be 10 by then will also want to do with her. So kind of ways for them to work together. And I probably won't do it next year because it might be too repetitive, but I would say the following year I would probably try out the high school version for my oldest son, who by then would be a 10th grader. I can't even fathom that. He'll be a high schooler next year. So I'll probably wait and then do the high school version when he's in 10th grade. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. My boys just finished up their lesson work in Chapter 5, Lesson 2 of Foundations in Personal Finance. Hopefully this gives you some insight into the curriculum itself, but also what it's like to do a lesson and also what it's like to homeschool children of multiple ages. If you noticed during the video, I was doing some one-on-one practice with Gia, some counting, some numbers, some money, some simple addition and simple subtraction, and then we moved on to a little bit of her Burrows and Holes Ready to Read unit from Gather Round Homeschool curriculum, which she is almost done with. So if you haven't seen my spring curriculum picks video, definitely check that out. I'll link that below in the description box, and you can see what we're doing next in our homeschool. We'll be finishing up Foundations in Personal Finance and moving on to some new stuff for the spring and end of year. So again, this video is a collaboration with Gina over at GinaBHomeschool and Brooke at Shangrila Schoolhouse. So make sure you're following all of us over on Instagram. I'll link those Instagram handles in the description box, as well as with the links to their videos for today so that you can do a lesson with them as well. If you liked this video, please like, comment, subscribe.
And smash that like button. Smash that like button.
Smash that like button for Gia, I guess. And
stay rooted. Hit the like button. Hit the notification bell. And don't forget to subscribe and like the video and don't dislike it and add a comment.
disliking a video is a thing. And until next time,
Stay rooted.